Hi friends, welcome to NodeJS, and in this video I'm going to show you how to create REST API using Node.js, Express and MongoDB as database. So in this we will be using three technologies like Node.js, which is a JavaScript server uh, engine, and ExPressjs, which is the framework of Node.js, and MongoDB is open source database engine. So we will be using these three uh, combination, and we will create REST API. So first thing which we will do, first we will install MongoDB into our local computer. Let's go to the browser and right here download MongoDB for Windows or simply MongoDB. Then you will be prompted to this website, and then here you will be shown the version. So current version is 5.0.6, and this one is for Windows. Okay, so now NMSI, that means a Microsoft installer. So simply click on download. The installation file is being downloaded. Once downloaded, double click on this and start installation. So this is the wizard you have to follow. The next, and you can click on this complete and simply click on next. And one important thing here, you see by default it's checked. That means it will also install Mongo DB Compass, which is similar to PHP MindMin, if you know PHP MindMin. Then so through which graphically you can handle this MongoDB. Okay, so don't uncheck this. Let's say very important. Simply let keep it as it is, and then click next, then install. So MongoDB Compass is a graphical user interface through which you can manage a database and other operation in MongoDB. So it is being installed, and finally installation is complete. So you can see this interface once this is installed. If you want to connect, simply click on connect, and then you can see here it is successfully connected here, and from here you can create database. Already you can see there are three uh, default databases here, but apart from that you can also create other databases. And after this, let's open command prompt and then create a folder in the uh, node express API. You can give whatever name you like, but in my case I'm providing this name. So folder created, now cd and then npm init. So we will create package.json file with this. Okay, so REST API version 1.0 description. You can simply press enter and move forward. So our package.json is now created. Press yes. Now if you want to see dir, then you can see here that package.json file is created now. Now the next thing which we need to install is here npm install. First thing will be npm install, and then express and mongoose and codes and body parcels. So this is first, second, third, fourth and 5. So we are going to install these 5 all together. Okay, you can install individually as well. So if you press enter, it will start installing one by one. Okay, so all are installed now. And also we will require to install NodeMon. This NodeMon will help us to restart the server automatically. We don't have to always restart the server manually. So press enter and it will start installing as well. Now let's create a folder called DB. MD DB. That means we are going to create a folder called DB, that's database, and inside this we will create a file. So let's do one thing. Let's open here Visual Studio Code. Then let's copy this path and let's go here and close this folder. Then open folder. D drive, Node Express. Okay, so this is our project folder. Now, okay, so database is created, and here we will create a file called server.js. Server dot no, not in this one actually, not in database. Let's create here database.js rather. Okay, and inside this we will make connection of MongoDB. So let's make connection here. Module exports MongoDB, and then here we will create a database called REST API. So let's go to MongoDB, and here you can see create database. We will name it REST API. Create database. And collection name also we can create from here. Collection name we can provide here students. That means this is database name, this is table name. Alright, so now this is your port number 27017. 201, yes, 20717, and then REST API is our database. Now let's create another folder from here. So is this inside or where? Let's create a folder called model. We will create here model. This model will be actually outside, okay, not inside the database. This model, and inside here we will create a file called student.model.js. Student.model.js. So we will create database schema. So first thing that we need to import here is const mongoose require mongoose. That means we are importing this module into our this model, and then schema. So we will build here schema. We will write here let student schema new schema. Here we will define first name string, last name string, email string, and then password string. Last one is not required. And then here we need to write here collection table name, collection, then students. That means this is table's name that we have created here inside REST API. This is student table, okay. And here we need to write export module equals to mongoose.model, then this student schema. That means this schema is getting passed here finally, and then student schema. Actually, this is the one, okay, and then this one is reference name, this model reference name. Now let's create another folder called routes here, because these routes will we will write the routes, that means the API endpoint here inside these. So let's create a file student.routes.js, and we need to import here express, and then finally we will create an object of that express, and finally we will create here const students express route express.router, and here we need to import student schema require model student model. Remember we had created this student model, this one, so student.model.js, so we are calling here in this route file, and finally we will start building student express route endpoint dot route, then insert this, that means homepage dot get, insert this request and response, like this, then function, and insert this student schema dot find. So what is this student schema? This one dot find, then insert this error data, either error or data, and here if there is error then it will show error, or else this data. And finally we need to export here module exports student express route, this one. And now let's create one file called server.js, server.js, and here we need to import here express, and then we need to import here path for routing, this one is required for routing, and this one is required for API request response handling, and once again here MongoDB, and this one is required for ports origin, and this one is required for data sending and receiving in chunk post data, and finally here we will import this database connection here, this one we are calling here. Now let's do MongoDB connection. So Mongo is dot promise global promise. So this is connection string mongoose dot connect config dot db, this one. Then use new URL parser true, then database connected or connection failed. So if database will be connected uh, perfectly, then we will get this message, or else it will say could not connect to the database. Now we had imported here express, and here we will set up this express, so it will be express app, and then app.use body parser json. So that means whatever we will send in the form user form, so it will be passed as a json format, and URL will be also encoded when the data will be sent and received. In here we need to use also the course module. Finally we will call here routes that we had created here. Inside routes, the student routes .js, this one we are calling here this route, and let's put here this endpoint. Okay, so whatever name you want to use here, uh, so we are providing here endpoint, and it's right here port number, so it is port number we are providing here 8080. And here we will write if everything is fine, then it will show port connected on this port number, server port number, and this code we will write for 404. If nothing is found, then it will show 404 error in server. And here we will write default route. Okay, so in case directly anyone without this endpoint, if anyone writes here, then it will show invalid endpoint. User must write here endpoint. Okay, first. Okay, so far now let's run the server .js. Okay, we are getting cannot find module routes. Okay, so let's check here. Okay, so our file name is routes. So we need to provide here s routes. Let's try to run the server again. Yes, now it says that port 8080 connected. That means our server has successfully started. And here let's write some more code for error handling. F.use function error request response in next. So here if not error status code, then status code 500, or else response.status status.error code. That's it. Now let's write again node server.js. Let's start the server. Let's refresh it. So it says that create error is not defined. Let's do one thing. Install this. npm install http errors. Okay. Save. And then let's call it here. This one is for error handling, right? So call here anywhere created. Now let's run the server again. Okay, and try to refresh. Yes, not found. This one is coming from here. So here we had put this not found. So if you put here endpoint then slash, then you can see there is nothing, right? So in this case this route is hitting here. Which one? This one. Okay, since we don't have anything here in our student table, that is why it is not showing here. So let's create here. Collection name is already there, students. So let's go here, then add data, insert document. So ID, this is ID, and then first name Umar, last name Rahman, last name, email bbc@gmail.com, and then password this, then insert. Okay, so we have inserted here one record directly going through this MongoDB. Okay, if you refresh here, then you can see the data what we have entered is successfully getting fetched here. So let's do one thing, create another record here. Then post name Rajesh, name Kumar, email rajesh@gmail.com, password 1 2 3 whatever, insert. So we have two records here now, right? Here we will write endpoint for fetching single student data. So we'll write here students space route dot route route. Now we will display single record. Okay, so here in the endpoint you can see it is displaying here two records. But what if we want to display only one record? In that case, we will write here one code. So it will be student express route dot route, and here slash student slash id. Okay, that means based on id it will fetch the data. So get here, and once again request response, and then function here, and in this case student schema dot find schema dot find by id. Oh, there is one mistake actually. Here will be arrow function find by id, and then here params param dot, not param actually, request dot params dot id, then error, and data, and one more close, then this, and finally this. It will be closing only one, not two. So here it will close one, right? And same thing will be here, either error or response. Okay, so that's it. Now let's try to open this in browser. So here we will write student and then this id, any one of these. For example, I want to display this, right? Just so I'll just copy this, and after student I will paste this. Okay, I need to restart the server. Let's restart the server, then let's check. Okay, so you can see now the data is displaying based on this id. So how it works, it works like this. When we pass first this endpoint, first is endpoint, this endpoint which we have defined in route, sorry, this endpoint, and then student, this one, this student, and after that we are passing here id, right? After this we are passing here id. So based on the id, this id is fetched as parameter here, find by id request dot parents dot id, and after this it returns the data. If there is any error, then it will show error, or else it will show the result. So as you can see, it is displaying here the result, and this time I'm going to select this one. Okay, so now let's replace the ID with this. So you can see now it is displaying here Umar Rahman. And in the next section, we will work on inserting the data, because for we have so far we have used Compass for inserting the data, but in real world no one will be using Compass because this is for development purpose. In real world, user will enter the data. So this is your database through REST API or form. So in this case, we will be using uh, Postman for inserting the data. But before that, let's write here endpoint here. And of course, this time it will be so student route dot route here, and then uh, here add student, and then here will be method post rather than get, and once again here will be request and response, and then here this is function. So the endpoint will be like this, add student. One more thing we can pass here for error handling next. Okay, and here student schema model schema dot create, then request dot body, then error and data, and finally here same thing we can write here as well. So what is happening here, whatever data we will be posting, it will be taken as request.body, and then data will be inserted through this function called create. This is express function for creating or inserting the data. If there is any error, then it will show here, or else it will return the inserted data. So now let's go to Postman here, and then let's create here one post, and then there will be add student. So this URL is required here, add student. Okay, and then body here, and then row, and then JSON format. Okay, so ID will be taken automatically. So it'll be first name, let's write here Kareem, uh, Kareem. Remember, this will be in JSON format. Password on to female. We don't have gender, so all these things is not required here in our case. So first name, last name, email, and password, because we have taken here 4 fields. Now, if you click on send here, let's see. Okay, not found. So for that, once again, we need to disconnect the servers and restart the server once again, and then let's go here and send. Yes, so data is successfully inserted. If you want to check if really get inserted or not, then once again what we will do, let's refresh here. As you can see, we have now 3 records. Remember, this data we will be sending through form like React.js or Angular or Vue.js, or from any other front-end application. but for testing purpose we are using this postman. As you can see, okay, our next task will be to delete the record. So for that, once again we will write here API. Okay, so this time let's just copy this whole thing and paste here, and here student ID it will be same like that, but not get but delete this time. Okay, it's better, let's name it different, maybe like Dell student. Okay, then ID, and here the only change will be here response code. Okay, response dot status 200, that means successfully deleted, you will get the message. Okay, so once again let's restart the server, and let's go to here. So our endpoint is Dell student, so rather than add Dell student, and then here we need to pass, and also we need to change here delete, and we need to pass here ID. Say this ID only, we will be passing here ID like this. So this is the last ID that we had created here. So if we click on send, not found. Okay, so this way it's not required actually, so let's just remove everything from here. We have passed ID like this, right? And the method is delete, because if you check here, we have passed here Dell student and then ID we have passed here, right? So Dell student and then this ID, so based on the ID that should be deleted. Okay, so message it is showing. Now let's check into the browser if the data is showing on. So before, as you can see, it is displaying 3, but now this should have been deleted. So refresh. Okay, so it didn't delete, there is something wrong. Oh, we need to change here as well, find by ID and remove. Okay, so this function needs to be changed for deleting the record. Now let's try, and here in browser as well. Yes, now it's deleted successfully. Suppose once again I want to delete this one also, then from here if I just pass this ID, replace this ID, this one here, and send, so second one should be also deleted. Now let's check here, refresh, you can see only one is remaining. Now the last thing is remaining, and that is update. And this time we will once again copy this, and here route, then change it to update student and ID here, and rather than put get, we will write here put, and function we will change here find by ID and update. In here we need to insert one more thing here, the body request, this $set request dot body. So why do we need this? Because as you know, for updating purpose we require ID as well as the parameters ID as well as request body. So we require both the things. That is why we are getting this parameter. That means this ID we will fetch, and apart from that, the user submitted data will be set here, and we can write here console.log, console.log deleted successfully. Okay. So now let's restart the server and try with postman. So here will be update student rather than Dell. Update student, and of course ID we need to, so let's do one thing, just copy from here, so paste here. So id we will be passing on the top, and here the body, and in this case we will write here root. So we need to find this id, which one is that. Okay, let's go to here and check which one is remaining, this one, right? So here in this case, let's send this id, and then first name Umar, Ganesh Umar at gmail.com, password this is this, then send, and it should have been updated. So, or there is some mistake, so let's check here going into the browser if it really updated or not. Yes, as you can see, it is successfully updated. So as you can see, guys, it is really very easy. So what is happening here, we have passed their id as well as the changing data. Okay, so after that the methods will be put here, and then send, then successfully it is updated. So guys, so I will use this same uh, REST API in Angular as well as React.js and Vue.js, and maybe some other also. So hope this video is useful for you. So thank you for watching. Bye bye.